As we attempt to answer some questions that have come in concerning the second coming of Christ and the Olivet Discourse in Matthew chapter 24, we're kind of just going through quickly, of course, in these short sessions, what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 24. We've worked our way up to verse 15, and Jesus is saying that another major event that will take place prior to his coming back is what he calls the Abomination of Desolation. Verse 15 says, "Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation, which is spoken through Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand." Now, the abomination of desolation is spoken of, I think, 3 times in the book of Daniel. It's spoken of by Jesus here. It's spoken of in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. And then it's described in the book of Revelation. So what is this awful abomination? This is an event that takes place, and Daniel explains this very well, as does 2 Thessalonians, in which the Antichrist, the one who is coming, the man of lawlessness, the beast, the one who is opposing Christ, the one who wants to be set up as God, he comes and sets himself up as God in the temple of God in Jerusalem, on top, and perhaps even an idol in the temple as well. It may be both of those things. Whichever it is, it's an abomination to the Jews. It's a blasphemy to God. This individual is claiming to be God. He's claiming to be in God's temple. He's blaspheming the Lord himself. And this is an awful, awful thing that's a sign of a time before the Lord is returning. Now, as we look at these verses of Scripture, we put it all together, the Lord will not come back to earth to set up his kingdom until this abomination of desolation takes place. And the Antichrist sets himself up as being God in the temple of God. So that's a major event that will take place before the second coming. This is not an event that will take place before the rapture. As we said a few days ago, the Christ could come back for his people at any time. None of these signs in the Olivet Discourse need to be fulfilled. This is signs of the second coming. Now here's another one. Then they should flee. When they see this, anyone who's a follower of the Lord had better flee. Verse 16, "Then those who are in Judea must flee to the mountains. And whoever is in the housetop must not go down to get things out that are in his house. And whoever is in the field must not turn back to get his garment. But woe to those who are pregnant and those who are nursing babies in those days. But pray that your flight will not be in the winter or on the Sabbath." So now he speaks of this time of fleeing. It's time to run. The Antichrist is on the loose. He is destroying and wiping out the people of God. He's destroying the things of God. He's desecrating the temple. He is a menace. He's a horrible, the greatest challenge to the things of God that the planet has ever seen. And so he tells these people they need to flee. We find in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, for example, that the people of Israel in particular flee from the Antichrist and flee from the devil, and the Lord protects them. So he tells them the very same thing here in the Olivet Discourse. And then we have the tribulation itself, the Great Tribulation. Verse 21 is described. And he says here, "For there will be a great tribulation, such as has not occurred since the beginning of the world until now, nor ever will be." This is then at the midpoint of the tribulation period, a 7-year period of time, right at the midpoint when the abomination of desolation takes place, and the Antichrist turns on the people of God, including the Jews, and they are called to flee. He said, then there will be a great tribulation such as never occurred before in the history of mankind. And unless those days have been cut short, no life would have been saved. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be cut short. Then if anyone says to you, "Behold, here's the Christ," or "There he is," do not believe him, for false Christs and false prophets will arise and will show great signs and wonders, so as to deceive, if possible, even the elect. Behold, I have told you in advance. Therefore, if they say to you, "Behold, he's in the wilderness," do not go out, and "Behold, he is in the inner rooms," do not believe in them. So he's saying here, look, the false teachers will come. The Antichrist will lead the pack. He'll be the key false teacher, the deceiver. And when he does the things that he does, recognize I've already told you these things. You've been forewarned. These things are to come about. And so the Great Tribulation has begun. This is described also in the book of Revelation and partly in the book of Daniel. And Jesus is going to say a little bit more about it here. This is the horrendous time for the planet. It's a horrible time for the people of God. Yet he does offer protection to his people. Some of them will be martyred. Some will die for his cause, but they will be rewarded. And Revelation chapter 6 in particular talks about that. We'll finish off our week by looking at a little bit more the Battle of Armageddon tomorrow.